think it's time for us to check out our guest here. We got a very
Oh,
special
man.
guest.
Dude, I'm so stoked.
I'm excited.
I'm so stoked.
How are you doing? British HODL, first time we're meeting. It's nice to meet you. I love the
Fantastic to
haircut.
meet you.
I should have worn my glasses today.
I'm just trying to look as good as you. That's what's going on here.
Oh man, I need to get me a cigar, but babies come into the office. There's like little puppies, and they might get mad at me. They'll treat me like Robert De Niro in Cape Fear.
In Bitcoin, we don't get mad at what puppies think about us.
That's right. That's
I
right. Well,
love it.
speaking of Bitcoin, we're looking at these analysts, and they're talking about an $8,000 Ethereum. This kind of moonshot. I think it could hit 8K. I think it will come in right a little bit below. But if we're hitting 8K ETH, I'm wondering, what do you think Bitcoin's going to do, over the next 2 years?
Well, let's not talk about what I think Bitcoin's going to do. Let's talk about what the previous managing director of BlackRock said in London last week. He said, as soon as an ETF is approved, it could unlock $150 billion to $200 billion worth of capital inflows within a 3-year window, which is actually quite tighter than what I thought it would be. Now, in order to service that, you have about at 150 billion, you'll have $198 million a day worth of purchasing. That means that the equilibrium price of Bitcoin would need to rise to $198,000 without the supply constraining anymore. So if we look at the bull market multiples that have been discussed by a lot of people, Bank of America set it at the peak to 118 to 1, means $1 into Bitcoin means $118 added to the market cap. You could be looking at a Bitcoin price of $1.1 million as that capital comes in. And that's just one vector.
Well, can I push back on that a little bit? Don't you see that ratio changing as the price climbs?
Absolutely. But I see it getting tighter as the price climbs, because as the price climbs, you're less incentivized to sell. The unique thing about Bitcoin is that the new buyer of Bitcoin that's coming in compared to the old buyer of Bitcoin that's been holding and trying to trade and this, that, and the other, the new buyer is buying up your Bitcoin and is never, ever going to let it go again. That's the difference this time around.
Okay, that is a really good point, because I do think as we go further in Bitcoin's life cycle, I think it'll transact less and it'll be used more like gold more. So essentially, if you think of gold, most of it's just dusty sitting in an old vault. Do you see something similar with Bitcoin, say 10 years down the line? Is most Bitcoin just going to be dust sitting in an old wallet?
No, the difference between gold and Bitcoin is that you can utilize Bitcoin as an underlying asset to the financial system and as rails, as what Strike is proving. So while a lot of the crypto world and the Wall Street world wants to make people believe that Bitcoin is just digital gold 2.0, I think that's the biggest lie that's out there. I think Bitcoin is much bigger than that. It allows people to build financial systems on top of it, and right now we're in the stabilizing layer 1, exploring layer 2. Eventually we'll be in layer 3 land for Bitcoin, and that's when it's go time in terms of usability.
Hey,
go ahead.
Yeah, just one quick question. So, British, do you think that, would you say that you're more of like a Sailorist or a Mahlerist when it comes to your Bitcoin ethos? And do you know what I mean by Sailorism and Mahlerism?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I definitely lean more on the Sailor side. However, I think that Mullers is 100% good. Now it's not only us Bitcoiners talking about it. You got the ex-president of PayPal coming out and saying that Bitcoin could be used as rails to do foreign exchange transactions, and that's a $7.5 trillion a day stable market.
All right. Speaking of Sailor, there's this narrative that was taking root, December 2020, January 21. We saw Sailor. He's doing his little message. All the CEOs, we're liking to think, Fortune 500, they're all there. 498 of them are there. And he's saying, hey, you're going to put Bitcoin on the balance sheet. And then Tesla did it. And we're like, we're all looking around. Oh, my God, the dominoes are falling. It's happening. It's happening. Next is Exxon, Microsoft, Apple, Google. We're all just trying to figure out who's the next one to do it. No one did it. Well, what about next cycle? Do you see any kind of exposure on corporate balance sheets?
So I was one of those people that was definitely on the bandwagon of corporate balance sheets, taking this bear market to think about it logically and applying my, investment experience to it. It doesn't make sense to me anymore. The corporate balance sheet in the U.S. is somewhere around $7 trillion. So it's not even that big anyway. And most importantly, if I want to invest in Tesla as a shareholder, I want Tesla to execute the vision of electric vehicles around the world for me. That's what I'm depending on Tesla to do if I'm giving them my capital.
Yeah.
If Elon turns around and says, I'm going to put 98% of my treasury into Bitcoin and just sit on it and increase your shareholder value that way, as soon as I've got an ETF, I don't need Elon to take that risk for me. I can reduce 3 layers of corporate risk and just buy the ETF myself. So the signal that it sends when a publicly traded company like Apple, Tesla, et cetera, invests in Bitcoin, it sends the wrong signal to shareholders. It tells shareholders, we have run out of ideas for your capital, so we're just going to put it into Bitcoin. I think if corporate treasury goes into Bitcoin, it'd be less than 5%.
Okay, less than 5%. Now, do you see that narrative changing once it, starts hitting new all-time highs, it hits about 50K? Because you might have people, I'm thinking of the Reddit, the GameStop, the Wall Street Bets crowd. Can you see some sort of scenario where they're, trying to get online campaigns like, no, we need this 5% exposure, 10% exposure? Can that equate into any kind of groundswell support?
It's to be quite frank with you, it's completely irrelevant what the Reddit crowd thinks. So Reddit had a really good moment, but that will never happen again. After that moment, I guarantee you there is a department inside of every single large hedge fund monitoring Reddit and social media to look for exposure points like that. So that was a really good moment. I hope everyone cashed out, and I hope everyone got their Lambos and whatever else they wanted. But that's over.
Wait, I should sell my AMC stock.
Yeah, you should probably get out of GME. Yeah. So I know you wanted to get into the 3 rules of Bitcoin. I do want to get that in a second from you, British. But before that, Argentina and their new probably going to be president, Javier Milei. We did a video on him last week. Drew, if you could put a link to that in the chat, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But they're extremely bullish on Bitcoin, not just from, I would say he's more of a cypherpunk than Bukele. Are you tracking what's happening in Argentina, and do you think that could be a big catalyst for an upward Bitcoin movement?
Listen, I really love how all of these countries are adopting Bitcoin and adding to the Bitcoin value and seeing that their tourism and everything else is going up. But to me, based on my background, the only thing that matters is U.S. capital markets. The only thing I'm focused on is that ETF coming out, regulation getting stronger for Bitcoin, and regulation getting even stronger for crypto. That's all I'm focused on. Argentina going onto the Bitcoin standard, it will help the Argentinians. That's the main thing here. But as far as am I focused on it and celebrating that Argentina has a pro-Bitcoin president? No, I'm not.
Do you ever see a day where BRICS money is going to offset or be more important than America capital markets?
I don't think so. If they were to think about it like this, right? Let's say I want to pay. Say you want to pay me for oil in rupees, for example, right? And I own dollars in my treasury. I need to, and you own dollars in your treasury. You're going to take those dollars, convert them to rupees, send them over to me. Now, in order for me to actually make them useful, I need to convert them back into dollars. So what have we done here besides a big circle jerk?
Yeah, exactly.
I think U.S. capital markets and I think U.S. capital markets are absolutely secure. I don't think there's any damage. And here's how you know. Because if there was a true threat to the U.S. dollar besides a media mental circle jerk, there would be bombs flying.
Yeah. I wouldn't even say it's more of the threat. I would just say more the rise of their purchasing power, I think, is going to be a narrative. Because there is a lot of purchasing power in those BRICS nations, especially on the consumer side. And so, I do see that being a narrative. Just doesn't, it remains to be seen what kind of economy and macro headwinds we're going to be facing and how it will affect some of these other countries with the smaller GDPs. Anything you wanted to?
Yeah. So I want to know, HODL, what are your 3 rules of Bitcoin? I see the HODL, I see the British HODL army in the chat. They want to know, help us, or we orange pill people here a lot, but you're probably going to have a different angle that we've never heard before.
Yeah, his is by tea and crumpets with it, right? Am I speaking out of turn here?
Tea, crumpets, and cigars. How about that?
That's it.
Well, listen, look, as far as I'm concerned, there's only 3 rules to Bitcoin, but you got to cover your children. I know you guys run a family-friendly show. You got to cover your children's ears, as I say.
Warning.
It's step number 1, you buy Bitcoin. Step number 2, you shut the fuck up. And step number 3, you get fabulously wealthy.
All right. Wow. Sounds pretty good to me.
Put that on a T-shirt.
Yeah.
I'd say put that on a T-shirt.
You know what? Morel, let's go ahead and get on that. British HODL, we'll cut you in on it. Don't worry, we'll split the revenue 50-50. Looking forward to it. Put on hit merch. British HODL, great job, man. We got to get you back on here. Maybe get you on ATB. Any parting message you want to give the folks at home? Maybe where they can find your content?
Listen, look, at the end of the day, the main thing, the reason why I came here, and I want to thank Nick for organizing that, the reason why I came here is to let everyone know there is this message that the opportunity in Bitcoin has been missed, and that is completely and utterly false. That is completely and utterly false. If you're operating through the mindset that the opportunity in Bitcoin has been missed, you are going to cost yourself the opportunity of once in a species to acquire an asset that actually has finality of scarcity. So get your mind right. I'm cool with speculation. I'm a capitalist. You got the right to make and lose money as far as I'm concerned. But you got one opportunity to buy Bitcoin. So I want everybody to focus on getting to one Bitcoin. Once you do that, get to the stupid shit. And if you want to find me, just go to youtube.com, type in British HODL, and look for this face.
Hey, there's only going to be so much Bitcoin floating out there, folks. You can only get about 17 million going to be floating around. So who's going to get a whole Bitcoin? Not enough to go around, not even enough for one for every millionaire out there. There's more millionaires than there are Bitcoin, folks. So I think it's a great message.
More millionaires. Three times more millionaires than Bitcoin.
Yeah. Wow. So that just kind of lets you know every millionaire wanted one Bitcoin. They could only get a third of one. So go ahead, listen to British HODL. This is a once in a species opportunity.
I love that.
British HODL, what's the channel called?
It's called British HODL.
All right. Easy to find, folks. Make sure you go show him some love. Make sure you follow him on X, follow all his platforms. British HODL, always a great time. Thank you, man.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, that was cool. Awesome. I need to start smoking a cigar, man.
I know. Yeah, we need to get in on the cigar game. We're losing out. Actually, I smoked my pipe the other night while I was drinking wine and watching football, and that was close, but I feel like I'm just missing out on the cigar.
Maybe I get like a grape Swisher Sweet. No, just like put it in my ear.
No, there's a great spot. There's a great spot where we live. We're all going. I'm taking you guys.
Oh, a cigar place or something? Yeah. Okay. All right. Is there a wooden Indian?
It's OG. It's everything you'd expect from an old school Georgia cigar shop in the woods.
So. British George. That's kind of funny. Yeah, British HODL's dropping the knowledge there. I liked it. A lot of good stuff there. And I think we largely align with most of our thesis there. I do think BRICS will be a little bit stronger of a power force than, I'm not talking about replacing the dollar's hegemony as the world reserve currency. Just I think the BRICS alliance will be a coming narrative, especially India. Folks, there's a lot of talk about China. China's going to be the next number one. There's musings that it could be India based solely off birth rate.
Yeah.
China is not having enough babies. India is well above the 2.1, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
So anyways, let's talk a little Bitcoin. Let's talk some data here. We're going to